You know when you had that friend in high school that you got into a fight with over like, you know, they hit on your crush and you got really mad at them and you're like, I'm not going to speak to them for 6 months. But then they don't speak to you and you don't want to be the one to reach out to them. So then it's 21 years later and you're like, isn't it weird that I never spoke to that person again? So you look them up on Facebook and you're like, oh my God, they just got divorced. Oh, they just had a cancer scare. And you're like, wow, I can't believe that. Good, you fuck. I hold a grudge like the best of them. Today on the show is my new co-host, a guy I haven't known long enough to hold a grudge against, Ken Krantz. The countdown to our demise starts now. This is a bit too much. Well, take for example, you came in to the show, right, as a guest.
Right.
And like we had fun doing the show. And then we were like a lesbian couple. Like we had one date. We were like, you want to move in? You know, you're like, fucking Ken got a U-Haul the second he left here. And I was like, fun date. You want to do this forever? You know, but because when you connect with another comic, you're like, oh yeah, that's, you know, I could vibe with that person. I could, you know, you're like, this is cool. I don't have to like talk to people I don't want to talk to.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let me tell you something, man. I don't look for new friends. Like I don't desire new friends. I don't like when I make a new friend, it's completely by accident. I don't know how you like, I don't seek or want new friends. Like my wife and I have made new friends, like other parents.
Yep.
And we really like them.
Yeah.
But I like, you know, I don't seek it. Like I feel like there's people who like go into situations. I'm moving to a neighborhood. I want to meet the neighborhood. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
That's so like I don't really want to. I don't want to meet, and then every once in a while it's like a surprise. You're like, oh, I actually do want to hang out with that person. That person's cool, but I have to be introduced to someone first. Like I'm not seeking it. I'm not going to my neighbor's house.
I mean, I don't know anybody our age that's like seeking out new. You think?
I think so.
Oh
yeah.
Well,
I definitely know people.
Not me.
I mean, not comics because a bunch of miserable pieces of shit, but. A lot of regular people seek friends and they want friends. And when you move to a new neighborhood or you start a new job, there's a desire to like make friends in the situations. And it is never my MO. I'm never like if you meet a person, you're like, oh, that fucking person's funny. Or I had a fun time talking to them. And then a situation happens where you hang out again. You're like, oh, that's cool. Cause that's a person I could talk to. But it's not like I'm like, you know, every situation I'm thinking the opposite. When I'm in new situations, I'm usually thinking like, all right, let this fizzle out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking for the fizzle out and go back home or go out and do my thing rather than like, how do I make a new friend in this situation?
Yeah. No, I think the best you can hope for is like someone that can help you kill the time while you're there. But I'm not. You know, it's interesting. Like I recently, like I've lost a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
Like good friends. And
lost or lost?
No. Like no
you
longer.
Can't find them, or
no. I know where they are. I know exactly where they are. We're just no longer friends.
Right. Okay.
And
you know, lost means a lot of things.
But what I did find, it's like I'm not looking for new friends. But what's interesting, it's like I've reconnected with older friends that maybe I haven't spoken to in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm putting oxygen into those relationships, you know. So they're not new, but
you know, my thing is
a change of scenery.
I'm so okay with cutting people off.
Yeah,
you know, and maybe that makes me an asshole, but like I am when I reach a limit, which is not how I felt like, let's say, like as a teenager. You know, your friends are like your whole identity when you're a kid, right? And I got to a point where I realized. I had this core group of friends when I was younger, right? In like high school and stuff. And then like I started dating this crazy woman and I was like 19 and I started doing comedy at 20. And those two factors took up all my time.
Yep.
And my friends were like these neighborhood guys that, you know, I loved them, but at the same time I had all this new horizon in front of me and I started doing that. And it wasn't because I didn't want to hang out with them anymore. It was because I just wanted to explore these new things, especially stand up. And there was they were taking issue with it, and they were like, "But you never." So
they were resentful.
They were resentful.
You miss a lot. You miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you're not
comedy.
at all the things anymore,
Yep.
and so they were like, because my whole fucking day was like, I just need spots. I gotta get spots. I was 20 starting out, and that they were like, what the fuck, man? Like, you're never around, and they blamed it all on the girl I was dating. And that took up some time too, of course. But I was like, no, man, it's just like all these other stuff, and like that just you could tell it didn't register in their minds. They're like, no, it's not. You're not. Like you can still be friends with us if you stand up. I'm like, no, actually, it takes up nights.
Yeah,
like that's when we hang out.
Yep.
It takes up nights, and then I stopped being friends with them. And it's not like I wasn't sad over that. I was, but once I realized like I could just still go out and do my own thing. It was like a very freeing thing. And then something changed in my head where from that point on, whenever I had friends or connections that would like maybe go away, I realized I never went out of my way to keep those people. Like I'm okay with cutting people off, is my point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very okay with it.
I am too. It takes me a while to get there, but
It takes me nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just walked out of here and you were like, fuck you, dude. And I was like, well, I'll just never see Ken again. It doesn't take much for me. It's like, it feels almost like a lack of empathy in myself, but it's not, because I have a ton of empathy.
It's a self-preservation.
For my people.
Right. It's like a self-preservation thing.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
I really find myself not caring when someone's like, there was also part of me, like I'm Sicilian.
Yeah.
Holding a grudge is like as much in my DNA as my fucking blood type. You know what I mean? And it's not, I don't hold a grudge with anger. Like I'm not like, oh, fuck this fucking guy, I want to fucking fight. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's not the true Sicilian anger thing. I'm a lot more calm than that. But I do have that thing where I'm like, fuck them. So easily.
Yeah.
I could just any given person, with the exception of like, the core, like my wife and kid. If any given person at some point was like fading out, I'd just be like, all right.
Yeah.
I don't have many people that I'm like, I need to hold on to them.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't love those people. I do. But I'm also okay with them not seeing them.
Yeah. That's great. That's actually I think it's a healthy way to be. I wish I had more of that.
Yeah, but people want you to go a little farther for them.
Yeah.
People want you to go a little. They want to feel like if they're pulling away, you're pulling them back in. I'm like, bye. I've had that a few times. So like that core group I grew up with, that happened with, we just like, they were mad, and I was like, okay, be mad. I'm still gonna go do my thing, and that was like almost a scary moment, because that was like my comfort zone. I had went to like grammar school and high school with those guys.
Yep.
But the second I felt that resistance and there was a little bit of separation, and I realized like, well, I'll be okay without those guys, right? The second I saw that, it opened up I changed my whole personality, I guess I was scared to be like that when I was younger, and then like that changed me. I was like, oh yeah, I can totally be like a fucking lone rider out there by myself. I could do that.
Yeah, that's yeah. I just learned that. I just had to cut off, like lifelong friends, like people, like you said, like the people I grew up with.
A whole group of them at once.
Like a handful of them all at once. It was.
Ken, your life does fascinate me, and I feel like every time we talk, I'm like talking about things that I think are going to be like a very easy breezy thing, and then it comes on heavy with you. You're like,
I know,
like the marriage thing, and you were like, you were between marriages for 9 days. That was an unexpected answer.
I know.
And now you're like, I had to cut off 7 people at once. I'm like, what happened?
I got to figure out how to do this.
Say it.
I got to do it diplomatically. So
you don't have to say everything. Now you have to.
I mean, fuck it. So I'm divorced. It's
the first thing I learned.
I'm married. Yeah. I'm with somebody.
Married, yeah.
I'm with my ex-girlfriend from high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I left. I want to make this clear. Like, I left my wife. It was the hardest decision I ever made in my life, especially having to, like, not living in the same house with my daughter. Like, it's the hard, but I had to do it for my own happiness. Like, I didn't want my daughter growing up and seeing this unhappy, neutered version of me.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it was my decision to leave. and I'm with somebody else, and my ex-wife started dating what I had thought was a decent enough friend of mine for 25 years.
Okay.
And we weren't super close, but
you knew that person for 20
we shared multiple best friends. So we were on the same inner circle. So it's not that him and I were super close, but we were friends.
That was the group.
Right. And you talk about being off doing comedy. I'm doing comedy 15 years now, and you know how selfish you have to be when you start comedy, and it's like you're the only person in the world that matters. You have to. Yeah. It's a very selfish undertaking. Yeah. And so I was away a lot, and I missed birthdays and graduations and parties, and I'm making new friends, and because you meet comics and you all have the same goal and dreams. So it's very easy to connect to the.
It's easy. Yeah.
And these, they all have like corporate jobs, 9 to 5. So they would get together on the weekends. I wasn't around. This dude became closer to everybody while I was away. And so he started dating my wife. My ex-wife, the way I found out wasn't like I was dropping my daughter off on my birthday, and
oh God, oh no,
I was dropping my daughter off on my birthday, and I happened to pull up to my old house.
I feel hot.
Like when you were like, "We'll bang this out in 30 minutes," I was like, "I don't think we will."
I should fucking know better. I gotta know from now on. Just talking about life with you is tough.
So listen, but I'm not. I want to I'm not bad mouthing anybody. It is what it is. It is what it is. And
happy birthday, Ken.
Even knowing what I know now, like I still would have I still would have made the same choices.
Yeah. Right.
So
right. Well, that's not. Her dating him was not the reason for the breakup.
No. Again, super clear. I'm the one. It was my decision to leave.
Now,
so I don't get a vote in who she dates. Obviously, Yeah.
Now this new relationship is like simultaneously to you also being in a relationship, another relationship. Or is it before or after?
No, it was after. It was after. Okay. Yeah.
So it's not the dating part that's the problem. It's that it's this person that was a friend of yours.
Right. But where my mind immediately went was like, listen, my ex-wife, she's a great mom. I don't wish her like ill will. You know, like I was hoping she would meet somebody that made her happy, but I was also hoping,
you didn't know the guy
to. You don't get divorced because you want to keep bumping into your ex in the same social circles.
Yeah.
So my mind just immediately went to like, well, wait, I'm trying to disentangle myself, and this feels like it's going to entangle everything.
Because it's your friends.
And then, when my friends, we're talking about grudges. What I didn't know was that because of being away for comedy, because of missing so much, they held grudges against me. They were hurt by my absence.
Oh, those friends were that whole time. That was a feeling they had toward you.
Yep. And apparently it was like.
How did you find this out? Did they all tell you that at some point?
No, they all talked about it amongst themselves. I was pretty like nobody pulled me aside to be like, hey, we're concerned.
That's the thing. Everybody wants to be friends of they think they want to be friends with the comedian because that sounds so fun.
Yeah.
That's the reality of being friends with a comedian. Is that
they're
not
really
around.
Much. Yeah.
And because when you first meet someone, they're like, you're a comic. Tell me, like, well, that's so cool. I'm a fan of comedy. Everyone's a fan of comedy, because like, why wouldn't you be? And they want to know about it. And then the reality of that is like, well, it's not that you're a bad friend, but you're not as present as the other friends. You can't go to everything.
Right. So I found out pretty quickly that they were holding grudges, and they were upset with me, and they were real quick to let me know whose side they were on, which I had I just made this decision, I left. I went through a horrible depression, like not getting out of bed for days on end because I had to leave my daughter, and that was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Yeah. And then you start looking around like, all right, like, where's my support system at? And the best way I can describe it, it was like, imagine you're in a bar fight breaks out, and you start getting sucker punched. And you look around to be like, where are my boys? Yeah. And your boys are the ones throwing the punches. Oh, yeah. Like, they were...
they're not only not there, they're actually...
They were making...
They're your opponent now in the way.
And I just kept like... and then listen, like, these were my, but they were my friends that I had introduced my ex-wife to. Like, these were my lifelong friends. I'd known them for years and years before. So when they were so quick to be like, hey, we're on this team. It was heavy. It was
that's
like
heavy.
It was.
That's heavy. That's a lot of change at once.
It's a
while
it
you're
was
also
a
dealing
lot
with your
of
relationship
loss.
change
It was,
and not being in that house with your daughter, which is the toughest part of all of it. You know, that's a lot of change at once. So that's a bit heavier, and maybe I feel like I don't get close enough to people to even carry that weight anymore.
Yeah,
because I would just be like, this is me. I fucking cut that off, and I just watch them.
It also down, listen.
I'm like, all right, well, there you
listen, go. I'm the first to admit, like, I didn't handle the news great. Like, listen, and maybe I'm a hypocrite, maybe I'm whatever you want to call me. It's like, okay, I left, I was with somebody else, I'm trying to make my own life and be happy. But then it did feel a little like became a pissing contest. Like, no, these are my friends. Like,
Yeah. On top of that, there's also this weirdness of somebody you were friends with is now with your ex. That is also weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I can't remember if we talked about it on my first episode, but it's also like my dad left my mom for her best friend.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so this isn't the same thing. She didn't.
That's where my mind went when you said that. Though.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, this is like because the fact that it's right in your face.
Yeah,
is a similarity to what your mom went through,
and it's I grew up in the aftermath of all of this,
of your mom
drama.
Watching her ex-husband have a new life right in front of her,
yes.
right in front of
literally
her,
right in front of her, like
block,
like down the street.
And now, in a way, even if it's not geographically that close, it's still like that was your group.
Well, now it's like they go on vacations together. and I'm like, I hope this is coming across clear. Like, I don't wish them bad. It's just, it was a lot to adjust to.
Yeah. That is.
And I made a lot of, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I didn't handle it great. It took a lot of therapy to get me to the point where I could let go of the upset. And it just became, I wouldn't even say I cut them out. It was like kind of mutual. Actually, one of them broke up with me at a diner, like when Harry met Sally.
A guy?
I got broken up with.
Oh, God.
In public.
Oh, that sounds like the worst fucking thing ever.
Oh, and then I was...
And I don't even mean like... I don't mean that sounds like the worst, like, oh, that's so hard for you. I mean, like, that is so fucking awkward.
Oh, yeah. He like threw money at me and stormed out, and then I had
Wait,
to,
why? Were you yelling at him?
No, he was getting very heated, and I kept, and then I finally was like,
dude,
I don't know, this doesn't feel
friend
like
breakups are weird. That's weird, man. Like, like if you have a moment like, I guess again, my mentality is like, all right, just don't talk to that person. Yeah. I would not be like, I'm gonna bring this guy out for a meal, and I'm gonna tell him I wouldn't do any of that.
Well, we were trying.
I'd send a text.
I went in with.
I would send you a text.
I went in. I think I went in with the intention of like maybe this could be salvaged.
Yeah. But he went into it with the breakup.
I don't know how. I couldn't tell you what was going through his head, but it happened pretty quickly. It was Nah, never. I'm not gonna go into detail.
But the thing is about that is like, you you were going into it with like, these are relationships that need to be salvaged. Where this is what we gotta do. We gotta work on making you cold and dead inside. I think you still got a lot of life, and you gotta, because I gotta tell you something, man. It's pretty liberating. Like, you got people in your life who you care about and they're there, and then to be able to just fucking snip it and just be like, all right, that's not
my wife is like that now.
I've only got like, I have people in my, like, a good number of people in my life, and people that I like that are in my life, and I could. Like, literally, my daughter is the only person that I'm like, that's the only one that can't go away. My wife too. Yep. My wife too, because she's her mom. But she gets this, the relationship by proxy because of my daughter. But you know what I mean? That's it. Because I think at so I was like 19, 20 when I like stopped hanging out with all those guys, and then with the girl who I was with, once I realized that was a bad relationship. It was like a 2-year breakup because I kept on trying to break up with her, but it kept on going like really south. And I was like, I was like, I don't want to have this conversation. So we just stayed together. And then when it happened, the second I got that moment of separation, I think she thought in her head, this is going to just be a break for us. And the second I had that distance, I never looked back. I never saw her again. Yeah. And she was trying to, and I was like, nope. We're done. That's it. I've moved on. I can move on very, very fucking quickly. I have no problem. The funny thing about that is I'm actually a very emotional guy. Like with my daughter, if my daughter asked me the other day to talk about the day she was born, because it's like fun for her to look at the pictures. I started crying as I was talking to her because I'm thinking about the day she was born and how I cried. She's like, well, what happened? And then I was like, I cried. And she goes, just for real? Like, I was like, wait, you cried? And I was like, yes. It was like in a good way. I could cry over a movie or a moment with my daughter. Sometimes I just watch my daughter and I just look at her. I just look at my daughter sometimes and I'm like, oh God. I'm a big emotional Italian guy. Yeah. But I have zero problem walking out of a relationship with anyone. Yeah. I'm talking friends, family. I'm not saying that I've cut off like family, but like I can walk away from about anyone. Yeah. With zero effect. Yeah. Like maybe I'll think back like, oh yeah, I did like hanging out with that person, but I won't sit there and mourn it.
It took me.
I didn't mourn it.
It took me a while, but also, I don't even know if it was mourning, because also it was like life had pulled me in a different direction than everybody else, and I do think part of me had outgrown some of these dudes. Yeah, sure. And maybe it would have happened naturally anyway, but then there was that immature part of me that was just like, no, fuck you, these are my people, you don't get to have them.
It became like a
and it became like a push and pull, and
that's a pissing contest.
And I wish I hadn't gone down that route. Right. But I did.
Are you a person who like holds a grudge for a long time?
I'm getting a lot better at it. Yeah, I could be. I could be a person that held a grudge for, I've had relatives that I've gone months and months without talking to, but I'm also in a much happier place than I've been at any point in my life, and I've done a lot of therapy. So I'm also learning there's a lot of power in letting go of grudges, because you're just keeping yourself down. You're not.
Well, I think it's like the anger part of the grudge. Like my dad, for example, is a guy. I mean, he's as Sicilian as they come. He will hold on to an angry, rageful grudge with someone, right? My whole life, my uncles, and my dad or whatever would get into a fight, wouldn't talk for like 2 years. Yep. And then one day it's just like fine. They're like, oh, okay. They don't talk about the thing that happened. They just like mend it. And then they get into another fight, and they're mad. You ask him 2 years into a grudge, and he still sounds like it just happened. Like angry, like oh fuck him. Let me fucking tell you, fucking fire. That kind of thing. Yep. Where I'm more like, the grudge is there, but I don't do it. I don't think it's coming from a rageful place. I'm just more like, Well, that annoyed me, and I'd rather not have that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? I had a work friend at a job I had in advertising, and she really sort of took to the comedy. She was, she did like improv and stuff. She really kind of took to, and we got along really well. She was cool, like I was really like, she was an actress, an improv person. She like really took to my comedy and was like, oh, we should like do stuff together. It's like what happens. Like you meet another comic, like, oh, let's work together.
Yeah.
Produce a show together. Let's do some stand up. Let's do a fucking podcast together, whatever. Right. And, but then when somehow the friendship got like it got like almost like a burden. It got like, it was like it needed a lot of time that I wasn't giving because I also had a girlfriend who I was going to get married soon. I had stand up. I had all this other stuff going on in my career, like 2 careers at once going on. So it was like, I can't hang out that much because like I just have too much going on. Like, but we're friends. I'm fine with being friends. And the second I realized it was heavy and then that person didn't work there anymore, I was like, okay, that's done. I'm not, because once something becomes too demanding of my time, I kind of go outside of professional things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like relationship wise, like friendship wise. If someone wants to, there's only 2 people that get my time, personal time. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's all in one house. If my daughter and my wife lived in 2 different houses, I'd have to make a selection. I'm not doing 2 places. You know what I mean? It's all in one house. My home is my like core. That's my like, that's my like solace. And outside of those 2, man, I don't know. I just don't like, I'll go for a beer with you. You know what I mean? But if you're the kind of friend who's like, hey man, like you haven't been coming out. I'm like, oh, stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah,
it's like a guy thing. I don't know, but I'm like, nope. Sorry, I'm not going to sit here and apologize for not hanging out with you more than I hang out with you. Those kind of friends where they're just like, they want so much of your time. Like, we'll hang out.
Yeah.
Maybe in a month.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I don't have to see you every fucking
That's
week.
why I love, I have friends stretching back to kindergarten that I still talk to regularly.
Exhausting.
No, but not when I say regularly, I mean like texting.
Yeah.
But I'm in contact. But what I love about I did a show last night and there were 2 comics on the show. I haven't seen either one of them in years. At this point, it's been like 3 years.
What happens with comics? You see them a lot, and then all of a sudden
you see them, and
then you run into them again 5 years from now.
And you pick right up where you left off, and we cracked up. And it's so good to see you. And I may not see him for another 2 years, and I won't hear from
fine.
And I won't hear from him until then. And
I think that maybe that's
good.
part of it. That's why I'm so comfortable with that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
When I see you, no one's got to go, where the fuck have you been, man?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do any of that dramatic. Listen, if you're the kind of person listening to this right now, if you're the kind of person who sees your friend and the first thing you fucking do is complain that you haven't seen them that much, you're annoying.
Yes, especially
when you are a burden to that friend.
Yes.
If that person wants to see you a lot, they will contact you a lot. But
also, especially, it's like you get together with them and they're like, oh, we never see you.
Whole
comedy boy, Hollywood. And it's like, I'm here now.
They call you comedy boy?
I'm
comedy boy. Cut those people off. If you hang out with a friend, you're like, ooh there, clown. Hey there, comedy boy.
It was like, I'm here right now. Why can't we just enjoy
That's what
the present?
led to my separation of like my core friends that I grew up with. Is every time I did hang out with them, we'd all go to a bar together. Underage drinking. We were like 19, 20. We'd all go to a bar together and they'd be like, oh, look who's here. I'm like, I'm not doing this every time. That was so fine with cutting those relationships off, even though I loved those guys, because it was like, this is too much. This is too emotional for, and I don't mean to say like this fucking alpha thing, but it's like, this is not a guy relationship anymore. I feel like I'm like half breaking up with you guys.
I got broken up with
that's a legit breakup. That's a breakup.
He threw money at me and stormed out of the diner.
I could not fucking imagine getting you. Let's go to making the plan, waiting for the plan to happen, go into the thing with like, I got to get some stuff off my chest.
Yeah. You know what? Listen, I'm okay if you've known someone a long time and it's a deep, close friendship, and it's like sometimes you do have to sit down and hash shit out and clear the air.
That's me. Nope. Not doing it. No, my skin's crawling.
I know.
Thinking about that moment. If I realized that was happening to me, if somebody brought me to that diner, a 20-year friend brought me to that diner, and I started realizing that they were gone, I'd be like, can I get this to go? Because I would still eat the meal. I'd be like, can I get this to go? And then I would be like, the whole time waiting for the waiter, because they don't wrap up your food anymore. They just bring you the takeout containers. The whole time I'd be like, they're taking too long. I don't want to be here. I want none of that.
Yeah.
I want zero of that from friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a relationship breakup moment.
Yes.
For me. To me, that is not, you don't do that with friends.
Yeah. Well,
maybe some women do that, but I've seen like, girls go through those like very deep, hard fights with their friends. But like when the idea of another dude, like another just like married dude taking me out.
Oh, man.
No. But yeah, I think I'll just go, okay, I get what you're doing now. Goodbye. Sure. You don't have to vent to me. You don't have to tell me all the ways I'm an asshole, because I'm just not going to be there anymore. And that's,
Yeah.
Let's just skip to that part. Let's skip to the part where I never see you again.
Yeah, well, I think I definitely learned from it. Like, yeah. I know now, like, that's how I would approach it. And I also know, part of me was just stubborn, because it felt like giving them up meant that my ex won.
Yeah. You've got a lot of there's a lot of weight in this.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
This is deeper than just like you and this dude. It's a whole group.
Right.
The friend is with her now. There's her and you. Like,
yep.
There's a lot of weight in this. That is not just like you and another dude.
Like, when you get divorced, it's fucking brutal. Yeah, even if you wanted it, Yeah. And you expect a certain amount of privacy and space.
Right.
And because of what happened, everything became so intertwined. My friends would be like, oh, I heard you said this to your ex in an argument. And I would be like, oh, how do you know this? Like, you shouldn't. And I would be like,
but going out of your way to text that?
Yeah. They would be like, everybody knew all my business. Yeah. And I was like, I have to remove myself. And it sucks.
Well, that's another thing about myself. I'm not the kind of guy that'll go out with you and complain about like my relationship either.
Yeah.
So if somebody went out of their way to bring that into me, like, oh, I heard you said this to your wife.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't even tolerate, because I'm not the kind of person, like if my wife and I got into a fight and then you and I went for a beer, I wouldn't be sitting there going like, I don't know, man, I'm stressed. I would just be talking to you about other shit.
Right. Yeah, because it's none of my fucking business.
It's none of your business. I also don't, I think people complain about their significant others a lot. Mm-hmm. I know my wife and I are both the same way. We like don't do that. You know what happens when you complain about your significant other too much? The other people you're talking to build a fucking idea of that person that is very negative. And then when things are good between you guys, your friends still have the negative idea of that person. So when you complain about, a lot of women do this, they complain about their husbands and boyfriends. I mean, men do it too, of course, but like, I think a lot of women do this. And then when things are going good, the person who they always complain to is like, yeah, but why don't you leave? And why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And they're like, no. I'm like, it's your fault that they're thinking that, because they think you're in a miserable fucking relationship because all you do is bitch about them. Right. So like, and guys do that too. Totally. Like, you could see the vibe when you go to a bar. It's like two dudes after like, working construction all day. You could tell, you see in their face, they're complaining about their wives. Like, and now your friend thinks your wife's a bitch because it's all you fucking talk about.
Yeah.
See, like you have to remember that when things are then good, they're still going to hold. They didn't see things get better after the fight. You told them about that. They went off. Now your friend thinks your wife's a terrible person or your husband's a terrible person because it's all you told them was the negative shit.
Yeah.
So now you got to deal with that. Now you got to deal with, then you're annoyed at your friends for saying, well, why are you still with that person? Well, because that's all they know about the person, really, is that you like they know that you complain about the person. Yep. I don't do that shit, man. I never did that either. I also would feel bad, if I was talking about my wife. I also like wouldn't. I feel like I have a good relationship. I don't have a relationship that needs me to vent all the time.
Yeah.
Me and my wife fight. I mean, especially after we had a kid, we're just always, you're so goddamn tired all the time that like fights happen. You up the fights in a relationship once you have a kid for sure. But even with that, we're like, I have no desire to like go fucking grab a guy friend and like go bitch about her. I'd feel bad doing that.
Yeah, it was never my thing either. I don't even think it was for anything other. And me and my ex didn't. Like, we bickered a lot, but there wasn't, like, massive blowout fights. It was never like that.
Right.
We just,
it's like
you grow together or you grow apart, right? Like, we just grew apart over the years.
The bickering almost is heavier than the big fights because you just don't realize because it slowly chips away.
Yeah, it's just like, getting jabbed instead of a knockout punch.
Right. The knockout punch you could, like, address, and you could try to block it, and you could be like, all right, next time I won't. Fall for that big wind up. But the jabs are just like, oh, what do you mean I'm just like my father? They gotta
I've heard some of that too.
Oh God, what do you mean? What do you mean I stay out too late? What the fuck did that come from? The little jabs are tough.
Yeah.
But and then if you get that in a friendship, this is the point. Like if you got a friend who's doing that to you, bye to me. But I don't need that. I don't need the negative.
I mean, it was
friendship.
Like when everything first went down, I still thought these were my boys, and I would like text one of them something about like, this is so fucked up. I can't, but whatever I'd say. And then, a week later, my ex would make reference to this text, like, oh, and it's like, oh, Jesus, there's everybody just knows everything.
Everyone knows everything.
It was such, it was almost like surreal, like it took me so long
That's
to
tough.
process.
That's a whole group kind of turning against you.
Yeah. And it was like, and it was almost like they had these grudges. I was, for the most part, blissfully unaware that they had these grudges.
Right.
And it almost felt like they were waiting for me to slip. It was like they almost wanted to pounce by the time
because they already
shit
had
blew
that
up
like
for
you're
me.
never around thing.
Yep.
Like maybe this is why I'm not around. I don't know. It feels like to me it's like maybe I'm just so comfortable being in and out of shit. Like I'm comfortable with that, and like being tied down anywhere outside of my relationship and my daughter, being tied down to anything kind of makes me a little uneasy. Like I don't.
That's good. I
don't want anyone. I don't want anything anchoring me besides the two people I've committed my life to.
Yeah,
that is it. Good. If my mom wants to come over 2 weekends in a row, I'm like, God damn it, Mom. This person gave me life, which, and I understand the irony in that because I also understand that one day that'll be my daughter be like, oh God, you want to hang out again? She'll grow up and have her own life. But right now we're her whole world and she doesn't do that yet. I'm going to pretend that day's not coming where I'm annoying her to hang out. And she's like, I got to go out with my friends.
That's so funny.
That's it. Outside of those two people, I have zero. I feel like I'm saying all this and I'm going to have like friends and family being like, wow, dude, you don't care about anyone else.
I know.
But it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't care. I'm not saying I don't want those people in my life. I'm saying that if it gets too annoying, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? If it gets too like much.
Yeah.
And that person like is like, I'll take a break from talking to you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about that work from that I had. I started realizing that like, we were like producing some shows together and we were doing some like stuff. And then in my mind, I'd go home to my girlfriend at the time I lived with, and my wife now. And I'd go home and be like, I did that. Now I'm home and I can do this. And it was like two different things. Right. And I realized, and then that other person kept on like wanting to hang out more and wanting to like do more professionally and personally. Like it was like I wasn't giving that person enough time. I'm like, outside of this, it doesn't mean I'm not your friend, but outside of this, my attention's going back home.
Yep.
That you don't get to pull from that. You get to pull from what I allot to professional and recreational.
Yeah.
That recreation isn't home is my base. That's where I'm going back to retreat to lay my head down for peace, for the love I have in my heart, which is very little. It's like there's just enough. There's just enough. And for those people, I love like a motherfucker. Like I am deeply emotional with those people, but it's all there.
Yeah.
I bring none of it outside.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's such a good way to be.
Like I don't like, I'll help you move if you need help. Like I'll be there for you as a friend if you need me to be there for you.
One thing I can promise you, wherever this goes, I will never ask you to move. See that? I'll never ask for help moving.
Yeah.
Like that.
But you see,
that's where I would cut somebody off.
I said that to you as a, just so you know, like I want you to feel like I'm a good guy, but I'm not. I don't want to help you move.
That's where
when you're on your next wife and you need to move out again, I'm not gonna help you move. But you want to call up and talk about it. I'll listen. I'll half listen. I'm probably driving. I'm like doing something else, but I'll take the call. I'll take the call. Yeah, no, I helped. I helped my best friend. I helped move. And we still talk about it to this day because I'm still like, God, that was so tiring. That I help you move. But like I said, I'll do it. I will do it. I'll be there for you if you need it. But when it becomes negative, like if you need me to be all in because you need me there, that's one thing. If you need me to be all in because you want to bitch to me about me, I will just not talk to you ever again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's different. Taking my time because you need a friend, I'm there.
Yep.
Taking my time because this relationship is feeling like we're in a relationship, like a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Nope. Bye. Bye forever.
Yeah.
Never again. Maybe that's why I'm comfortable with comics. It's like you said, you could just like not see someone for.
I mean, it's amazing, but it's also, and it's not like, oh, you never text, you never call. What the fuck? I think that's what I love about. I'm so happy when I bump into you.
That's what I love about comics. They don't want my text either.
No.
I'm not worried about them wanting, them worried about it because I don't want theirs and they don't want mine.
Nope. It's just like you're so happy to see them when you see them.
Yeah.
And then, but if you never saw them again, you might not necessarily notice.
Well, you wouldn't notice because you're just assuming you probably see them again in like 5 years.
Right. You're like, oh, we're just not on but it could be like, oh, they quit comedy a decade ago. And you're just like, I'm sure I'll run into them eventually.
Every once in a while, someone brings up a name and you're like, that person quit comedy? You know what I mean? You're like, I haven't seen that person in like 7 years. Did they quit comedy? And then you find out they didn't and they're still doing it. They're like, oh, that's nice. Or you found out they did and you're like, oh, that's also nice that they got to quit comedy.
Yeah.
All right, man. Listen, I'm gonna. I'll help you find your friends.
I know where they are. They're on
No.
vacation with
You
my
know,
ex.
no, you know, no. Right now they're all like, woo! They all got like umbrellas in their drinks. They're all sipping pina coladas, screaming "fuck Ken." They're all celebrating. They're all celebrating your disappearance.
It is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Listen, if this makes any sense to you, if you could just engage in completely non-emotional friendships.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where I want to be.
That's the key. You enjoy each other's time, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
You right? Like I have fun hanging out with you and then I forgot you the second I left. That's a good friend to me. I don't want to think about you until I see you again.
Right. Yeah. Those are comedy friends.
Those are comedy friends, right? All right. This is a bit too much. It's a bit too much everywhere. It's on a bit too much podcast on Instagram, on TikTok. We post clips from the show. Support the show on Patreon, a bit too much podcast. This is a bit too much.